Hey Ratbags, it's Jade. Welcome to a guide today on, I guess, armours and starting armours. Which ones are best? There are 5 uncommon, and if you're not boosting through the game, here's just a little video to give you some tips at the end and go straight off which I think is the best arm set that you should go for or use or maybe even upgrade. You probably want to skip the upgrading path a lot for some of these, but yeah, if you're going to mooch about, explore every nook and cranny of the beginner starting areas, then it's at least worth upgrading one of them to level 3. So let's go. The Nora Anointed is obviously the starter set, and is it worth upgrading? Well, I would say out of all of the sets it might be, especially again if you're not going to mooch and boost through the areas. You'll start off with it giving you extra concentration regen, and fully upgraded 400%, meaning that you can use it more and more often. This is vital in the early stages if you're looking to tear off lots of machine parts. So much of the game requires so many different parts to upgrade. It's well worth doing this early just to give you that bit of extra time or give it to you more frequently. And the potent medicine is going to give you bonuses to all your healing foods that you'll eat or the berries that you'll come across. So I do think it's worth it upgrading for that alone. Although be warned, it only applies to actual berries rather than potions, I do believe. But you can see it does give a 70% healing increase and healing speed once fully upgraded. You'll get additional 2 weave slots of course at the 3rd upgrade, and you'll gain 25 protection against shock and acid damage, which is useful because you'll come across quite a lot of acid dealing enemies early on. The melee and impact is pretty decent as well at 9% and 5% respectively. I would say a lot of the uncommon armours aren't worth upgrading too much, certainly not to full level, but if you're going to go for any of them, then the Anointed outfit is probably the one you want to. The Nora Huntress you can get from the stitchers in Chainscrape or Barren Light, and this is obviously Aloy's original outfit from the first game. Now though, it's more of a stealthy armour set. With melee, impact and frost protection, you can recover health when using Silent Strike, 45% at the early level, and you get reduced visibility to enemies. I would say this is probably the second one that I would go for after the initial Anointed set. You'll also get a quiet movement weave when you go ahead and get it up to level 3. The upgrades for this though do cost green shine, which you'll notice a bit later does become a bit of a resource that you're going to spend more and more of. I would say because it only has 1 elemental defense, it's not the best either, but it will obviously help with impact. You'll get the champion armor by completing the Bristleback side quest. When you get to Chainscrape, one of the first set which you'll come to in the game, you'll have to help the Magister solve a couple of missions or quests, basically finding out what's happened to some miners and then finding out who's let in some machines. Once both sections of that are done, then you'll get the armour as a reward. It's a good kind of rogue class, good for stealth as well as ranged. You get 15% extra melee protection, 16% frost, and at level 3 that's going to be 25 melee, 5 impact and 26 frost. You also unlock the stealth tier fibre weave, which is pretty decent as well, although you do need to take out a long leg wing burner, which I would say is a pretty hard resource to get in the early stages. The stealth range bonus gives you obviously more impact damage, and it does increase your concentration limit, giving you 100% max concentration at level 2. So yeah, I would say it's a great one to take out a lot of human enemies while in stealth mode. The Explorer outfit you'll buy from the Stitcher in Chainscrape, and it does give you a fairly decent amount of protection against acid. And it's fairly decent for melee. You do get critical strike damage to give you more damage when enemies are down, and it's a pretty good boost for your power attack, 20% extra damage at level 2. And you do also get the melee damage weave with it, which is going to give you a boost to your light and heavy attacks. So all in all decent, but again I feel it's a little bit let down compared to some of the others. So if you're someone that's been relying on melee a lot, taking out human enemies a lot with this is probably going to be a good one. The carja blazon of course is relevant for trappers. If you like using traps a lot, then absolutely go for this. Now you'll find this one inside a chest at the rebel camp just north of Barren Light. It's a decent sized camp. You'll have to take out maybe 6 or 7 NPC normal enemies before making your way across to an area where you have to break down a bridge and facing off against this guy. But as long as you are dodging out of the way a lot and building up your attacks, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Even a little bit under leveled, I managed to do this camp okay by being stealthy to take out most of the majority of the normal enemies before taking on the chunky boy here. Then just head to the back of the camp. You should find a whole bunch of these canisters glowing nearby and some sort of map indicating passage of people going left and right, and then you simply got to pry open the chest that's next door to it. So that's how you get it, but what can the Carja blazon do? Now personally, I'm not a big fan of using traps, especially early game. They take up quite a few resources, you've got to time it right, and a lot of the robots and machines generally kind of be a bit derpy and move around them just at the wrong opportunity. But that's just me and my playstyle. Maybe there's some trapper masters out there. But what do you get for it? Well, you increase your trap limit from 2 to 3, and when you go ahead and dismantle a trap, you'll get more resources from it instead of usually just shards. So again, you really have to be nailed on at using the traps a lot to really make use of this one. At level 1, you'll get a 2% melee and impact resistance and 21% fire. It's already got a base damage of 16, and then increasing it to level 2 is going to increase that to 21 and 22, plus the melee and impact at level 4, and you'll increase the trap limit once more. So you should be able to use 4 traps now. These are not bad if you're going to be taking part in a lot of the Hunter's Lodge challenges that you come across early in the game. And you do get the quick trapper weave also for upgrading this to level 3. And again, if you're looking for resistance against fire and shock, then 25% isn't too bad. In terms of upgrades as well, you can see it's not that expensive. Charger horns are something you should come across quite a bit, especially if you do a lot of the side missions early on. So it's not really going to cost you that much to go ahead and fully upgrade it. So yeah, if you're completing the hunter challenges, then why not? The last bonus of course is that it does have 2 elemental protections against some of the other armours that only really have 1. And it should go without saying, but tailor it to what skills you've been putting your points into. If you're doing everything on average, then it doesn't matter. But if you really want to hone in on getting the most out of your health skills, then you're going to need an armour to compensate for that. But honestly, in the early stages, it just won't matter that much. I would, based on watching this video, choose the one that sounds more like the playstyle that you enjoy, go and grab that, upgrade it to level 3, and maybe just a couple of the others up to level 2 while you go and explore some of the beginner zones. By the time you do get to the big next section of the map, you will realise that you've got an abundance of stuff to upgrade all your arm sets to at least usually level 2, with only the ones that require the green shine sort of crystals being a little bit more exclusive that you want to save for later. And don't forget to equip a bunch of coils. You'll be surprised how many of these you'll find just by looting chests. Effectively, you want to be using these armours pretty much all in these starter zones. You may still find that some creatures towards the south can do quite a bit of damage to you, as you're definitely going to come into contact with more of the, I would say, tougher machines. It will definitely service you though if you upgrade to level 3 while you explore all of the starter zones. And just a little FYI, once you've found an armour set or you've bought one, you can actually go ahead and get some more from different traders. Different traders in that zone will start selling the same ones. So if you accidentally sell one by accident or lose it somewhere, you can go ahead and buy another version of it. Sometimes it's worth upgrading any of these, even if you don't like the idea of them, just to get the weaves. You might like the actual ability on it, and if you've got loads of components, then you might as well at least upgrade it. Maybe I would say though 2 is the maximum for maybe 2 of these, and maybe only upgrade one of them to level 3 completely, unless like I said that weave is something you really want. If my memory serves me right, you couldn't change the weaves on the early game stuff in the first one. It was locked until you got a skill later on, so I'm really pleased that you can actually mix and match stuff in this one now. Although I could be wrong on that. I've played a lot of games lately. But there we go. That is my armour guide from best to worst. It'll all suit your style, and it'll all become pretty redundant as soon as you start getting some of the more rare ones, which I'm working on a guide for it right now. So leave a like, make sure you subscribe, go and check out the rest of my content, and I'll see you rat bags later.